the space shuttle was one of the greatest achievements of the 1980s. No. It's an achievement, but only in being a great and complex way to fake space. As a child who loved science, physics in particular, I had a special interest in the space shuttle, which I thought was really awesome. But for as much as they say it's inspiring, I have to say that it didn't really inspire anything in me but a lingering doubt that only ever grew. Only now, have I totally figured out how they faked it. And I'm offering it up to you just out of the goodness of my heart, because I'm an honest person who doesn't lie to you like NASA. I'm not above lying under any circumstances. I'm not a perfect person. But NASA as an entity is an evil snake. So how did they do it? Well, they had 4 versions of the space shuttle that you see here. And we're going to break it down. We're going to start with the heavy media prototype. I call it that because it is heavy. If you look at it being constructed here, it's made very carefully by hard-working people who think that they're actually doing something of value. They don't know that they're faking space. They're not in on the conspiracy. They faithfully build a launch vehicle that they believe has the necessary specifications and components to help these very loyal and courageous people, these astronauts, survive a trip to space and accomplish their very important mission, whatever the heck that is. Well, the heavy media prototype was a full-sized vehicle. Like I said, it had components built by subcontractors who are many which well-meaning. It contained realistic rockets, although they didn't really work, not the way that they were designed. The interior was identical to a parabolic plane, which we will briefly discuss later. And it was there so that reporters and photographers would have access before the first launch. After the first launch, they didn't really have access. Now, the vehicle was built after this, in my opinion, the Gulfstream II. Why did NASA have such interest in the Gulfstream II? Well, the Gulfstream II was about the right size, right shape, and it had the engines in the right place to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish with the space shuttle. The sketch design for the space shuttle had roughly the same dimensions. If you take a Gulfstream II and look at the engines, you can see how they're mounted on the fuselage. There are 2 of them, and they're placed just about right where the space shuttle engines would be placed. The big difference is they widened it. We'll talk about that later, maybe. The number 2, the second vehicle, is the one that you see at launch. So this is not the heavy prototype that the media got to see. Now it's switched. Now it's a completely different vehicle. This vehicle is not designed with any seats in it. It's unmanned. It has a simple set of mission parameters, and they are as follows. Launch at a slight tilted angle. And then do what they call the roll program. It's very important. It rolls upside down right away so that it begins to level off in its flight well below, in my opinion, 50,000 feet. Why? Because it's on its way back down. Soon it angles downward, and it has a prescribed oceanic ditching maneuver that it already starts within view. It happens, however, out of view, about 90 miles downrange. Where? In the ocean, where they have restricted travel. It also happens to be part of the Bermuda Triangle. Maybe that explains some unfortunate disappearances of people who perhaps saw something they're not supposed to see. So, what is it made of? Well, I think it's a combination of vinyl and some kind of metal, probably aluminum, as an outer skin. And the vehicle is light, it's hollow. The boosters are wall materials made out of the same type of thing because it holds helium. Much like an inflatable bounce house, it holds its shape thanks to a constant influx of air. However, closer to launch, if you recall seeing all this ice and all this frost right before launch, it's because they are pumping in a lot of noble gas that's lighter than air, probably helium, and the expansion is very, very cold. The tank, ironically, is the lightest. It's lighter than air. It's the lightest component of all, and that's why it goes immediately to the top during the so-called roll program. If you look at the shuttle, just prior to launch, especially in the early days, the early launches, it has that kind of hot air balloon bounce house look to it. I think they decided to make that center tank orange and give it this ugly striped rib chute or tube that goes down the side that it didn't have before, just to make it look more mechanical and metallic. The launch vehicle is held by some kind of an air bladder to pinch the bottom and hold onto it. There's some interesting shots of the launch. You can see the use of orange lights. You can see the use of steam. And, well, let's move on with some other characteristics of the launch vehicle itself. In order that it doesn't fly away too early, which would be just game over, dead giveaway, not only do they have it pinched with those air bladders on the wings, but they also have it filled with water to act as ballast. And so I believe the helium is a backfill to the water that escapes just prior to launch. The water acts also as a heat sink so that the vinyl doesn't burn up from the actual rockets in the jet engine, or the propane flamed jet engine. So it would be fire control. So the jets are masquerading as rockets, and the propane has been shown. You can tell it's just streaming out of nozzles on the rim or the ring around the outside part of the cone during launch. The rocket engines on the shuttle, for sure, and maybe also the booster rockets, are otherwise regular engines and probably of the same type, the Rolls-Royce ones that are used on the Gulfstream, although they may just be different, like F-16 engines or something of that sort. Nobody's allowed near the launch, as it probably becomes quite obvious when you get close enough to this particular vehicle, the second vehicle, which is the launch vehicle. You'll start to see some things that just don't match up and don't look right. As reported and experienced, yes, the launches are very, very loud, but it's a non sequitur to think that the loudness of the launch also indicates the factual nature of the launch, because noise can be made by different things than what you're seeing. A noise can be made by something other than what you are looking at thinking that the noise is made. It's basic ventriloquism. And such a trick as ventriloquism is exactly the kind of special practical effects that NASA is actually really good at least in terms of pulling off to defraud the public, which included me, but not anymore. And it's pretty easy to pick it apart if you just research their own material and find things like this.
The first thing they installed was a huge loudspeaker, through which they played white noise to simulate the sound of a rocket. They then sent a number of trucks in different directions out into the wilderness, and the drivers were ordered to stop when the noise levels became acceptable. This gave them an imaginary boundary line, and anyone living on the inside of it was offered a simple choice. Stay, and you'll never hear another television program as long as you live. Or take the NASA shilling and get out. No one stayed, and NASA ended up with exactly what it wanted. 125,000 acres of nothing. They even had to move 5 cemeteries.
If anything about that sounded right to you, and if you are not completely infuriated by what NASA did there, then please don't watch any of my videos and get out. All right, moving on, since you stayed. The last thing with the launch vehicle that I think is worth mentioning is that the astronauts don't get on. It's unmanned. How do they not get on? Well, they make a big show about getting on, but they don't. They climb through this little yellow brick road, they call it. And it's interesting that for an open air type thing that's a public show, you'd want to be able to see them walking on, and you can because you can see their upper bodies walking on. But then, like the snakes that they are, they get on their bellies and they crawl. It's poetic justice that these cowards crawl on their bellies along this yellow brick road to go down a tunnel, down, like going down to hell. They go down and they go down where the fire is going to be. Well, it's fake fire in this case, as the shuttle goes up. It's still hot though, it's steam. So yeah, they do go underground. But that's how the Challenger crew survived. Challenger crew survived the so-called disaster. So let's review, class. If the shuttle had these retro rockets on the nose that you see here, which are black and they're cavitations where the jets blow out, on the launch pad, would it be like a bounce house? Would it be white? Would it be vinyl? No. The answer is no. And then if you zoom in on the launch when it has the booster separation, would you see them popping like helium balloons with the helium gas escaping and immediately rising? And it expands because it goes to lower pressure, so the water and the air condenses into vapor, and they fall not because they are heavy metal things with liquid rocket fuel or solid rocket fuel. No, they fall because the helium is out of the balloon. It's just right there in the photographic evidence. The third type is the tabletop studio model. That's how they faked footage of the in-orbit scenes. It's miniature in scale. They used it in the studio to make live video recordings, stop motion, and later on in the program some green screen footage. They used it to portray satellite launches. And as evidence, you can see in many different recordings there's evidence of strings, but my favorite is the infamous giant head blunder that they made. It's really a good find, and it's out of their footage. They didn't catch it.
He said this is a picture, the astronaut said this is a picture from being deployed from the spacecraft. Let's have a listen.
Actually being deployed.
Now why am I mentioning this?
There were very few vibrations of any sort. This is a picture of the INSAT.
This is a picture of the INSAT. So do you see, watch what's over here, and this will give it away for you, okay, if you didn't see it already.
Actually being deployed from the spacecraft. You can see that the deploy went very smoothly at the moment.
So fourth and finally we have the landing plane. I believe they chemtrail the skies just sometimes different reason. One to pollute and obfuscate the view so that you can't see that the jet flies from like Area 51 or someplace, rises up, and it goes up and over Texas and comes in and lands at the Kennedy Space Center. It's not a glider. It has an engine. It's got two Rolls-Royce engines from the Gulfstream. It's a dual-engine one-seater with the outboard Rolls-Royce engines, specially developed for the Gulfstream 3. It was available, but it was already available to NASA before that because they paid for the development to have that Gulfstream Rolls-Royce engine specially made with a muffler to be extra, extra quiet. I wonder why. I think I know. So it's got the black mesh that hides the air intakes only on the landing vehicle. They have black tiles there. Why would they have those black tiles there? Just to have something black that's there. They figured this out in later vehicles because it's supposed to make you think that they just have black tiles there, when in fact it's hiding the fact that when it lands it has active jet engines, the Rolls-Royce outboard. Two jet engines. So it lands. I have it on good authority. It's a empty shell. It's a one-seater, and it's not a glider. It's powered. And then fifth, there's a parabolic plane that's located at a military base, and they have 90-second clips that are evidence of when they're using the parabolic dives to simulate zero-G prior to their chroma key 3D green screen work that they do nowadays. Back then, they did more of the practical effects, like your traditional magic tricks, like Penn and Teller. Upside down, hanging upside down with the camera. Right, or upside down as well, and or right side up, doesn't matter. Things like that, strings and whatnot. Just things to fool you. It was all just to fool you, to fake space, to get money, to make it seem like the Earth is a globe, to make it seem like the Bible isn't true and God doesn't exist, to make it seem like you are insignificant in a vast universe, to make it seem like Satan's world, Satan's ways are the only and best ways for you. And in fact, they hid what they knew at the upper levels. But now at the lower levels, we are learning that indeed, all those times you thought the Bible was wrong, you thought that the earth was a globe, it was flat the whole time. There's a dome over your head. It's just how it says in the Bible. God does exist. He loves you, cares about you, and wants the best for you. And being lied to and believing it is not what's best for you. That's why I'm sharing with you how they faked the space shuttle program. And now you know. What you do with it is your own business. And don't try to tell me that it's not fake, because once you realize and accept the fact that this stuff is fake, there's no going back from that. When you see the fakery of it, it just keeps piling up, and there's no turning back. I'm not married to the globe. I don't care, and I don't think there's a globe, and I'm happy about that. I'd rather live in God's world with purpose and meaning and significance than a world of evolution, fake space, death, disease, decay, and all that horse manure that I don't like. I don't believe in it. I believe in life. I believe in everlasting life. I believe in joy. I believe in happiness. I believe in purpose. And I believe the Bible. The Bible has been right this whole time. It's completely vindicated. And that, my friends, is an encouraging thought.
Had to move 5 cemeteries because the noise they were planning on making would wake the dead. Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you! It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh, NASA's playing God! It's making its own weather!
We are back, and you're looking at a live picture from NASA right here in eastern Kern County as the Space Shuttle Discovery comes home from a very long trip in space to the International Space Station, a mission that began August 28th and covered some 5.7 million miles. Isn't that a beautiful shot as the shuttle streaks back to Earth for a landing at Edwards Air Force Base in eastern Kern County. The shuttle dropped off tons of supplies to the International Space Station, including a $5 million treadmill named after Comedy Central's Stephen Colbert. You remember that?
It had to be the treadmill.
That was the consolation prize after he pushed for naming the naming rights for a new space station room. NASA chose the name Tranquility for that yet-to-be-launched room, even though Colbert won the online vote. But that's beside the point. This is serious business right here as the shuttle, which is really just a glider right now, coming in for a very graceful landing at Edwards Air Force Base.
Well, kids might be interested in knowing also, though, Jim, that Buzz Lightyear.
Buzz Lightyear's coming back,
That's
too.
right, is coming back on the Space Shuttle Discovery.
This is a 12-inch action figure. Buzz flew up with the shuttle in mid-2008 as part of an educational program. And Buzz will be returning to Walt Disney World for a ticker tape parade at the beginning of October. Oh, this is a gorgeous sight. You see those
You imagine
vortexes
he's going to the Epcot Center, right?
I would imagine, yeah. That would make sense to me. Let's turn up the audio and listen to this for a minute. And they are on final glide path right now as they approach Rogers Dry Lake Bed.
The same view that Rick Sturko and Kevin Ford are seeing now that we're aligned with runway 22. 1 minute until touchdown.
Discovery's crew, by the way, performed 3 spacewalks on this mission at the International Space Station. They installed a fresh tank of ammonia coolant. They put in new antennas and cabling for that new space room, Tranquility. That will be the living quarters, which is due to arrive next year.
Pilot Kevin Ford will deploy the landing gear.
It's always quite a sight to see the shuttle come back. Now, you know, NASA prefers to have the shuttle land back in Florida, and for a couple of good reasons. It takes them about 8 or 9 days to get the shuttle mounted on top of a Boeing 747 for that piggyback ride back to Kennedy Space Center, and that costs NASA about $1.7 million every time they have to do that piggyback ride from Kern County back to Kennedy Space Center.
There you see the landing gear?
Landing gear down and locked.
And that's touchdown.
Main gear touchdown.
Discovery safely home with her crew
Kevin Ford
of
now
7.
deploying the drag chute. Nose gear touchdown.
And we'll have more on the Space Shuttle Discovery's mission tonight on 17 News at 11. Going to switch it over to Todd Strain right now.
Charlie Hobart clearing up the shuttle's nose for landing, and as you can see, the main gear of
its speed now 320 miles per hour. The gear is down and locked. Discovery's gear is down and locked.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, YouTubers. This is Jerry Diamond, How to Get Out of Babylon. And I am going to tie a couple of widely spread sets of pictures together. So, I want to start with a few questions. And this is to me, this is huge. It's momentous. I've been sitting here just like, you know, do I even really want to get into this? I want to make a comment that a few weeks ago, when I was doing I did a couple of videos on infrared photography, and I also did some videos on my dear little troll friends. My DLF, dear little friend, is from Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian. But anyway, my dear little friends. But in one of those videos, and if anybody happens to know, you know, maybe mention it to me, but let me know which one. But I made the comment that I basically made a prediction, you know, that the firmament is going to speak forth, I think is how I phrased it. The firmament is proof. It's one of the things that it shows his handiwork. What is handiwork? Well, a carpenter beats nails and makes houses, and a blacksmith beats iron into horseshoes and swords, and, you know, drills and plowshares. You know, so that's kind of the picture there. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Psalms 19, verse 1. And figure everybody that's listened to me for a while and has ever studied flat Earth would know that my question here, why did this man quit NASA? This was the father of NASA. He's a guy that came over from Nazi Germany. We brought him over Operation Paperclip, and he was essentially the man who built NASA. He's the one that gave us the heavy lift Saturn V rockets, and all the not all the technology, but he spearheaded the whole thing. He basically built it. And in 1972, he quit. So now it says, did he find the truth? As if sometime in there he found the truth. Well, and put it on his gravestone. Because what he had on his gravestone, he instructed his wife to put one thing and one thing only on his gravestone. Psalm 19, verse 1. Okay. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Now, oddly enough, I don't believe that he sometime during his life he found the truth. No, when he, as a head of NASA, the first thing he did was he went on an expedition to Antarctica. Now, what does NASA and Antarctica have to do with each other? What's the connection there, other than the fact that they have a whole fleet of C-130s, and that's where they launch their balloons from, with lots of cranes and whatnot. Their balloons carrying satellites. You can see video of it. I'm not making it up. Fact. So anyway, I'm not saying anything more about it, but there are a lot of satellites launched from Antarctica on balloons. They crash around here and there with the balloon. Sometimes they crash on takeoff. One crashed in Australia, I think it was, Brazil or whatever. But anyway, it was being dragged. The balloon didn't lift high enough, and the satellite got caught by the wind, and it bowled the whole car over. Almost killed somebody. Came real close to it just rolled the whole big old SUV right over. So anyway, and it was millions, and the article said, it was millions and millions of dollars of high-tech satellite cameras, high resolution cameras, that NASA was using to do something or other, to pretend or to test how to put up a real satellite with real equipment on it. Ha ha ha. No, it was millions of dollars. It was a real satellite. Okay, so my question is that I think he knew going in. He was head of NASA. He was told what the deal was. He was told what the score was. They took him to Antarctica to show him, and that's what I want to deal with here. Okay, so a few other questions related. Why was there a TV show called Under the Dome? The Simpsons are always talking about the dome. Guy hits a home run and it goes up and cracks the dome, and whale, swordfish, turtle, dolphins flow through and flood the whole stadium. flood the whole world. Ever wonder why a rainbow is shaped like a dome? Ever wonder why the second rainbow on the outside is an exact mirror image in reverse order of the lights, the band of the spectrum in the inner rainbow? Ever wonder why sundogs look like they do? They look like the inside of a bowl with a light on it. Try it sometime. I'll do it sometime, but fact, This is supposedly, it says, top of Mount Everest. And this guy here has blazing yellow hair, but he's pointing up to where there's a arc going up and an arc coming down, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, somewhere, it says Mount Everest. I kind of doubt Mount Everest, there's anything like that up there. Maybe it meant Mount Evans, or maybe another mountain somewhere. Ever wonder why virtually every single ancient civilization, Maya, Inca, Aztec, Hindu, Chinese, Egyptian, Hebrew, on and on and on and on, all had some depiction of a sea around the earth, clouds, sun, moon, stars up in the sky, a firmament separating the waters below from the waters above. And this is Logos Bible software. For $1,000 you can buy this software, which will make you a Bible scholar, give you a lot of tools, okay? $1,000. That is their depiction of what the Bible says the world, the heavens above, the earth beneath, and the world, and the below the earth, beneath the earth, Sheol. That's what the Bible says it looks like. Now, Kent Hovind and Ken Ham and all these people that are mock Bible scholars that are mocking the Bible, mocking God. They don't say, they disagree that the Bible says this. I heard an atheist one time. I thought he was a Baptist preacher at first because he had a polyester suit and looked like kind of had a slick back hair or whatever. And he was saying, the Bible teaches a flat earth. The Bible is obvious, completely, no question, 100%. In the Bible is taught flat earth. And it turns out, he said, that's what the Bible teaches, and therefore the Bible's wrong, and there is no God. He was an atheist. He was an atheist saying that we have science now, and science has proven that there is no God because the Bible's wrong. God could not write a book with that many errors in it. Science has proven that there is no God. Green Bay Packers. Friedrich Nietzsche said, God is dead, science killed him. So, all right. Canopy of the sky, roof or dome. This is from the Quran. Many versions of the Quran describe the sky as being like a canopy, roof, or dome. Here's another one. Waters above the firmament, waters below the firmament, stars, sun, and moon set in the firmament, which is exactly what it says in the book of Genesis. I'm going to be dealing with that. So I'm not going to hit this real heavy, but, here's a depiction. Here's another one, waters above, firmament, separating the waters above from that below. Heavens are the dwelling place of God. The earth is his footstool. How many footstools have you seen that are basketball size or soccer ball or beach ball? How many footstools have you ever seen in your life that roll around when you try to put your feet on them? And the only place you can put your feet is on the top, and then it moves. The earth is his footstool. Granted, there may be a footstool out there with 3 legs, but most of them have 4. So I'm not going to say any more about that. Whatever this is from, I don't know, but it looks like a weatherman playing, God over some domed city. This looks like it might be Aztec, Mayan, who knows, India. So this is kind of the depiction of what people kind of sort of think the flat earth looks like. We don't know. Won't know until they tell us. Won't know until it's made clearer. So, sun and the moon going around, firmament of the sky. This one's interesting. This shows that the earth, the firmament and everything the earth is a gigantic capacitor / battery. You have the land in the middle, the oceans around it. The oceans are an electrolytic solution. Earth is negative for a fact we all know. I mean, you should know by now. I've said it often enough. Earth is negative. So the center of the battery, look at a D cell battery. It's probably the best, easiest one to imagine. That center, negative, you got your electrolyte, and the casing is your positive. So negative electrolytic solution, positive. The sun is a positive charge, moon is a negative charge. So, all right. So here's another question I have for y'all. So, you claim to be a Christian. And you can see these pictures here. Do your own research on it. You know, John Glenn, Buzz Aldrin, you know, every single one of them, Neil Armstrong, are Lucifer worshiping Freemasons who take a blood oath to not roll over on their beliefs or their whatever they've been indoctrinated into. You can see them wearing the Freemason apron, the Masonic apron, skull and bones, on and on and on. So you refuse to believe, and Ken Ham, I'm calling you out, you know, Kent Holbein, you guys refuse to believe what it says in the Bible, right? Logos Bible software. You absolutely and utterly refuse to believe what the Bible says, but you believe blood oath swearing Freemasons who worship Lucifer. Okay. I think you're going to be in trouble with that one. Seriously. I mean, that's not, and that's a fact. I mean, Answers in Genesis. Ken Ham's Answers in Genesis. His ark thing is just going down the tubes. You know, he built an ark in Kentucky. $100 million to build an ark. I mean, it's one of the biggest laughing stocks in the world right now. So, but unfortunately, and he published a picture of it on Facebook with a flat horizon, and a gal mentioned it, and so he pulled it off Facebook and banned her from his forum. He won't let flat earthers go to his conferences. The guy's a joke, a Joke joke. Loser is a good word for him. Ken Holbein, and they're doing it for money. You know, it's money. So it's sad. It's wrong. It's definitely wrong. It's sick. It's sad. But they believe, these guys, and Kent Holbein insist. He plays a clip of one of these astronauts saying, "Oh, it was really neat, and I'm a Christian, and I go to church." The Christ that they believe in is not the Christ that you believe in. They believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in Jesus Christ. I'm here to tell you, Kent Holbein. Extract cranium from rectal defilade. Do one of those auto extractions, delicate surgery. Extract cranium from rectal defilade. Figure that one out. No, and then he berates people for not believing this astronaut, because this astronaut's a Christian. He wouldn't lie. They've taken a blood oath to lie. Jeez. Okay. I have a question. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molten looking glass under the dome? Cut a cow in half. Truck slams into it. Airplanes crash into it. They don't crack. So, here's an interesting one. The complete works of Flavius Josephus. Book 1, Chapter 1, entitled The Constitution of the World and the Disposition of the Elements, Josephus wrote, "After this, on the second day, he, God, placed the heaven over the whole world and separated it from the other parts, and he determined it should stand by itself. He also placed a crystalline firmament around it, and put together in a manner agreeable to the earth, and fitted it for giving moisture and rain, and for affording the advantage of dews. On the fourth day, he adorned the heaven with the sun, the moon, and the other stars, and appointed them their courses, that the vicissitudes of the seasons might be clearly signified." He put them up there for signs and seasons, days and years. It says that in the Bible. Josephus is just saying that in a different way. according to his understanding, his tainted, ancient, Hebrew-based understanding. So I'm going to have to minimize. So I'm going to be flipping back and forth. The term stereotype derives from the Greek words stereos, firm, solid, and typos, impression, hence solid impression. Firmament. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. Now the thing that is just absolutely mind-boggling to me is the second day of creation. It is the only thing that the Creator did on the second day of creation. These guys all claim to be literalists. They claim to believe the Bible, and they say that the firmament does not exist. There is no such thing as a firmament. For all practical purposes, it's not the sky. You know, Kent Holbein mocks the Bible's own description of the firmament. He mocks it, makes fun of it. I'll just put it mildly, I would rather doubt that the Creator of the universe appreciates people mocking his work and ridiculing it and basically saying that it doesn't exist and that he pissed away a whole day of creation, a whole day of work, wasted his time, because in their book, it doesn't exist. On a globe, it flat don't exist, people. It flat does not exist. So, all right. And I'm going to skip, I'm going to put this up here. This is Wikipedia. I want to move along. Rakio, firmament, the visible sky, was a solid. In the Old Testament, the word shamayim represented both the sky atmosphere and the dwelling place of God. Paul was caught up to the third heaven. Hello? There's the three heavens. The heavens of the sky and where the birds fly, that's the heaven. Second heaven, the firmament where the stars and the sun and the moon are, and the third heaven is God's throne. The rakia, or firmament, the visible sky, was a solid, inverted bowl over the earth, colored blue from the heavenly ocean above it. Rain, snow, wind, and hail were kept in storehouses, etc., etc. The waters for Noah's flood. Okay, Deuteronomy 4:32. Heaven extended down to and was coterminous with, i.e., it touched the farthest edges of the earth, i.e., Deuteronomy 4:32. Interesting statement. You know, look up the passages, but that is exactly what people who have some understanding of what the cosmology of the world looks like believe that. That's what's depicted Under the Dome, the series, and all these other things. Simpsons. There's a dome that comes down. It's an upside-down bowl. That explains why the rainbow looks like it does. It explains sundogs. It explains a lot of things. All right. Touches the farthest edges of the earth. Now, humans looking up from earth saw the floor of heaven, which was made of clear blue lapis lazuli, i.e., it's called terrible crystal sapphire, blue, deep blue sapphire. You can watch a video online. Just look up sapphire. Look up blue sky stone. Watch the video on it. There's more than one, but one of them is pretty good. They have tested it. It's made of 70% oxygen. It is deep, brilliant, gorgeous, blazing blue, and they don't know what it's made of. They don't know how it was made. They don't know much about it at all. Firmament of heaven spread out like a hemisphere above the earth, like a splendid and pellucid sapphire, to which the stars were supposed to be fixed, and over which the Hebrews believed there was a heavenly ocean. All right, so moving right along. Now, Brown Driver Briggs, one of those was from Jusinius, which is a lexicon. Brown Driver Briggs is like the liberal scholars, but the accepted, classic, greatest lexicon out there for the Old Testament. Okay, now it would be, you could also look up Kittle's, Kyle and Delitzsch. Yeah, liberal German work, but it's the commentary in the Old Testament, and that would give a lot of stuff too. But this says extended surface, expanse, solid, as if beaten out. Okay, construct, built. Firmamentum, which means strong. Flat expanse, as if of ice, compared as base support, blah, 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 compared to supporting the throne. Okay, the vault of heaven, too. Vault of heaven, or firmament, regarded by Hebrews as solid and supporting waters above it. Why did they believe that? I don't know. Because God said so in the Bible. So, once again, I ask, why did this man quit NASA in 1972? And why did he put one thing and one thing only on his tombstone? The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Part 2 coming up.